Welcome back to The Line. This week, Albuquerque residents learned that APD officers have been involved in hundreds of crashes around the city in the past year. The Police Oversight Board was apparently aware of the issue and was making some noise about it internally, but it didn't draw much public scrutiny until recently when an officer crashed into a car carrying a mother and her two children. A 6-year-old in that crash died and a 9-year-old was severely injured. The Albuquerque Journal reported that the officer, Jonathan McDonald, had been disciplined at least 6 times in 9 years for driving incidents. Tom, an APD has been criticized for use of force and other stuff, but man, oh man, when you think about 66 crashes, and we'll get into what constitutes a crash here in a second, in the month of March alone, should the citizen be concerned here? That's very, very, very troubling.
Well, it is troubling, and I think that when we look at the number of miles that police officers in general put on their cars, I think in the example that you cited, a very tragic example. I don't think that sets the norm for everything.
Good point.
It was an absolute horrible situation. New Mexico in general. And everybody complains about drivers, but just driving here, I was passed by an officer running code somewhere.
Right. Happens all the
middle
time.
of the night.
That's right.
I'll hear chases going down 4th or on 2nd Street. So that's just it's a way of life, unfortunately here. I think that the Civilians Oversight Committee did a really good job in raising this issue. It's too bad that their calls for change were unheard,
right?
Because that really could have affected change. So thankfully the Albuquerque Journal and other media started highlighting things, and then when this very tragic situation occurred, it drew additional attention to it.
You're absolutely right. Dee Dee, interestingly, I hear Tom's point, he kind of buried in the beginning there, that sometimes it's an odds situation. If you drive more miles, you drive more high-speed miles, the odds are you're going to get in more crashes. Just a sort of simple math. But at the same time, these folks are highly trained behind the wheel, it seems to me. And we have a situation with this McDonald guy getting in accidents in a parking lot, hitting stop signs on cores when there's nobody else around. From the middle lane, I don't even know how that one happens. I mean, it's an amazing thing when you think about it.
Wow, I'm glad I'm not his insurance agent. Oh, whoops, I am his insurance agent. They're self-insured. We're paying the bill there.
Right.
So, I think in order to figure it out, we have to see what the records are of the state police, of truck drivers, of others that drive so many hours behind the wheel.
In other states as well, right?
Well, in other states as well, but
Mm-hmm.
here especially. And we need to really look at the training these guys are getting too, and when they're running codes, or what is a safe pursuit in a crime.
Yep.
We discussed this in the legislature a number of years when there was a young student from Albuquerque High School, Manoa Hahoa, for whom the Manoa Project was named. He was killed during a police pursuit in the same way that this 6-year-old was killed recently. And we discussed what is a safe pursuit. Shouldn't there be laws and at least regulations as to how fast you can go, what the nature of a crime that requires a 90-mile-per-hour response, and what is not.
Do I recall, this was during Marty Chavez's reign, that we had a big discussion in this town about this very thing, that some chases just should let go or make other arrangements going down the road. Has that stuck in your view? Have those changes?
I do not know what the training, and I do not know what the regulations are now. This is the time to review them for sure.
That makes sense. Laura, what's your sense of this one? A panic here, something in the middle between indifference and panic? What's your sense of it?
I think it's definitely a concern. I'm not sure a panic is helpful because in general panic just makes us anxious and not necessarily well thought out. To Dee Dee's comment about being his insurance agent, if you were his insurance agent, you'd be making money off of it. Selling him. You're his insurer. And we're all his insurers. So we're really not in a good position with this whole thing because they are self-insured. To me, I think clearly there's some driver inattention happening here. At some point in my life, I was a police dispatcher. And I remember how much interaction you had to have with the police officer. And that was before they all carried their computers in their vehicles. And now many of them have those computers in their vehicles. They have phones that they get texts on. how much of that is affecting their ability to drive appropriately if they're constantly having to, check their codes on the screen, deal with phone calls, deal with radio. I mean, it's a lot of, you have to have multiple sensory sort of skills happening at the same time, as do the dispatchers. So something's got to be happening with this particular driver, maybe others, where they're being distracted more than they should be in addressing.
Distracted.
At the least, I mean, interesting to me, one of his citations, it seemed, I think he got an 8-hour suspension for this one, was running into another cruiser, making a U-turn in front of him. How does that even happen?
You have to not be paying attention.
Exactly.
You're reading what's on your screen. And I think, my understanding, and again, it's been many years since I was a police dispatcher, but they get codes and they get sent information on their computer now. It used to be that you would read that information over the radio to them.
But,
that still required them to pay attention, but now they're actually looking at it. So it means taking your eyes away from the road.
And there's a law against distracted driving.
Right.
Yeah. I see them manipulating that screen while they're driving, glowing at night, the screen's glowing, Janice. Again, I ask again, though, where does the public fit into this? We want to feel safe when we feel officers are on the road. I feel like these are the best drivers on the road. And now I have a whole different frame of mind when I read this, when I read this journal series here. Did you have the same sense?
Well, I would say I looked at it because I thought, okay, what is the difference between preventable and accidental?
Gotcha.
And the article did not tell you that.
Okay.
So first and foremost, let me tell you, citizens of Albuquerque, if you hear sirens, pull to the right.
That's a fair point.
Don't go to the left, pull to the right and stop, because that will help.
We're terrible about that in this
We're
Yes, we
terrible
are.
about it.
Yes, we are.
The second thing is, for the police officers, for ambulances, and for the fire department, the rule is that you may use sirens to go through and break the law, but it is on the driver to make sure to assess that it is safe. So I cannot excuse this police officer. The third thing is determining what are the rules if you have a preventable accident. Who's talking to them? And this is where we're going to get into some really sticky stuff. The rule at APD is if you have a preventable accident, by the second time, it's 2 days removal from your vehicle. We can't do that because we don't have enough police officers.
Oh dear, no kidding.
And so I'm looking at, why are you only getting 8 hours?
Right.
And think about what happens, but I am right with you. Every vehicle that is damaged means we are paying for repairs or it is out of service.
Thank you.
And that is a problem. So, but we have a bigger issue here is if we pull a police officer off the street, we have no one to replace them.
I appreciate you saying that, absolutely. And I want to touch on the bit with Tom you just mentioned. It's going to be costing us a fortune, 66 crashes in a month. Let me go back to this officer. Once he hit a curb. I'm not quite sure what was going on with this McDonald thing with the curb, but the wheel came off the bloody car. That's not a $25 fix. That's a lot of dough, dude.
Was that lack of maintenance? We don't know that.
Exactly right. That was my second point. We don't know what's going on in that shop to fix this kind of stuff that could potentially put these folks in danger down the road. You see what I mean?
Well,
it's very problematic.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm hearing is that a lot of folks, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know what the training is. We don't know what the maintenance programs are. We don't know how much in premiums. We don't know how we compare to everything else. How do we compare to Farmington? Police officers per capita. I don't know. I don't know the answer either.
That's right.
How do we compare to Houston? And so there's what we have is a snapshot, and that snapshot is extremely alarming because all of us, if we had 66 crashes in a normal year, we'd be losing our insurance.
That's right.
We'd be looking to take the bus, or some other type of form of transportation. But so all this is a great opportunity for police officers and police organizations and law enforcement to say, here's how we do it. And I just haven't seen that part of the conversation taking place.
Good point. We're down to a minute, Dee Dee. We swing back to the Police Oversight Board. Again, it turns out in the reporting, they have been on this, and they've been asking. They've been trying to get some answers on this, and now we're in the situation where we have to have some answers now. We have to give them some props for even trying.
Well,
at this
there's
point,
supposed to be a report out next month.
That's right.
That answered some of these questions. So we'll hope that they do something with that, and it is an adequate motion picture rather than a snapshot.
That's all the time we have. Visit us online at NewMexicoInFocus.org.